Hi, this is Rodrigo from Frame Freak Studio, and this is the Creative Host Track Show. Today we have Benson Shum, which is an illustrator and animator who has worked in films such as Frozen, Big Hero 6, Zootopia, and Moana, and he has also worked for many companies like Sony Pictures, Imagework, DHX Media, and Rainmaker. And today he's here to share a little bit about his experience. So, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much, Rodrigo. Happy to be here.
So first of all, for the people who don't know about you, can you tell us a little bit about your story? How did you get started? Was something that you were doing since you were a kid or something like that?
Yeah, so I've drawn ever since I was a kid. And I guess throughout, like I always just kind of copied cartoons and growing up, and whatever I saw on TV, I tried to kind of like, if I had like a VCR, I would freeze frame it and then just try to copy it. Or books, they had these kind of trading cards back then, kind of like hockey cards, but they were, let's say, for example, they had this whole line of like Little Mermaid just came out, and they had all these trading cards. And when you buy a package, you get some gum, and then I would just kind of trace and just draw those things over and over. So yeah, I just remember that I always drew a lot as a kid, but I kind of stopped actually when I went to high school. Because maybe it's the fact that when you growing up, they say, oh, art's not a career, and then that was kind of ingrained in my head. I always drew a little bit, but I kind of drew less, so it kind of went into more of the route of sciences, so like biology or science. But in the end, I always kind of like went into that because knowing, oh, I'm gonna do illustrations of animals in textbooks, something still art-based, but still doing, more academic kind of thing. So I pursued that for a bit, but then I always just went back to art. I felt like that was kind of what I really loved, was just kind of creating, no matter what it was. So after graduating from high school, I've applied to a couple of places, but there were like art colleges. So the college I applied to was Capilano University, and they had a 2D animation program. It was fairly new. It was probably about 2 or 3 years that I started, and I didn't get in. It was based on a portfolio. And me being very like, I don't know, maybe I was just in La La Land where I didn't really apply to anywhere else. So when I didn't get in, my parents were like, well, what are you going to do? And so I ended up not going to school for a year after high school. And I think it kind of scared my parents looking back now. So I worked in the food industry. So I was working at a fast food place as a cook, and I love cooking. So that was something I also wanted to pursue as well. So I ended up doing that for about a year, and I just drew on the side to kind of get my portfolio better. So went on nights, I went with friends to draw anything from life, because the portfolio requirements was to draw something realistic. They didn't necessarily need to see cartoons. They wanted to see that you can draw the foundations. So I took art classes on the weekends, and applied again the following year. And luckily, I got in. And I was actually very, very fortunate that I didn't get in the first year, because I think it made me appreciate getting into the school and like working hard and trying to improve my skills. And I also learned that I thought maybe that was just me, but I realized that a lot of my classmates in that class also didn't get in the first time. Some of them applied 2 or 3 times, they didn't get in. So when they finally got in, I think that really helped us bond as a class, and they really kind of pushed us to kind of push each other further to kind of improve ourselves. And so I was very grateful to be in that class. And I was in that class for about 2 years. We learned 2D animation, so everything from design to backgrounds to animation. And so after graduating, I got my first job as a prop designer. So even though I knew I wanted to do animation, like I wasn't gonna turn down any job. Like if it was an opportunity, I just want to get to create art. So my first job was to be a prop designer on a Canadian television show. And I was doing that for about 6 months, and then they moved me on to a few other shows. Flash animation was a very big thing. It was just kind of starting up. So the studio taught me that on how to use it. So I was doing animation on that. And the great thing about working at the TV studio was it was fairly small. So I did get to learn everything from storyboards to doing some editorial to design, even some directing for some like web shows. So that was a great experience. Then like 3D animation was starting to become a big thing. And I wanted to kind of give myself more options to kind of expand my skills. So I decided to go back to school again. And this time I applied to Sheridan College, which is in the middle of Canada on the East Coast. So I went there for a year for the 3D animation program. And so after graduating there, I tried to find work in Toronto. Couldn't find work there, so I went back to Vancouver and I applied everywhere and didn't get any jobs. So I went back to doing more like 2D stuff again, right? I went back to doing design, to animation. But during that time, I was also working on my 3D as well to kind of, improve. And I'll do little assignments. I would join things like 10-second Club. I'm not sure that still exists, but they're just like little assignments where you do it and then you throw it up online and then people give critiques and stuff like that. Because like back then, Animation Mentor and all these other schools didn't exist. So it was like whatever rigs I could find online that was free, I would just, do what I can with it. And so I was doing that while I was working. And then I just started to send my stuff out everywhere, like Canada, US, Europe, anywhere. And then my first opportunity came up in 3D was in games. That was just outside of London in England. I never thought I would like go to London to work, and they said they're willing to do my visa. I'm like, yes, let's do it. So didn't know anybody there. I just jumped at the chance, and I ended up going there, staying there for about almost 2 years. So the game studios was DigiGuys. They're no longer there anymore. They kind of closed down. It was a very small studio, but the experience was incredible. The people that I worked there was amazing. Everyone's like international there. We had people from Brazil, from France, from England, of course, from Thailand, Italy, everywhere. It was awesome. So there for about a year. And then after that, I got the opportunity to work in London because that was just outside of London. So the next opportunity was my first show in visual effects. That was on Harry Potter, the 4th film. And I was super excited because that was my favorite book out of the whole series. So I got that chance, luckily. So I moved into London. I didn't save any money at all because it's expensive. But it was awesome. Like the city is amazing. I visited there like 2 years ago, and I really do miss it. There's just so much art and culture, no matter where you look. So I was there for about a year on that film. Then I decided to come back to Canada because my visa was running out. So on my way back, I started to apply elsewhere to see what opportunities there was happening. Again, there was nothing in 3D. So I went back to doing 2D again. So there's a lot of like, my career path kind of goes in zigzags. There's no like direct path. I just, whatever came up, an opportunity, I just did it. So I went back to doing some design work again where I used to work in 2D, some TV shows, web shows. And then eventually a friend of mine recommended me to go work with him at a CG studio in town locally. So so from there on, I kind of luckily found consistent work in 3D. I'll still be jumping around from studio to studio, but this time I'm kind of staying more in the CG community, working in visual effects to animated films. And eventually I landed at Sony on Smurfs. And so I was doing some animation on that. Then a little bit on Hotel Transylvania, did some pre-production. And then I heard about this this conference called CTN Expo, called the Creative Talent Network. It happens in Burbank every year, just the week before Thanksgiving in November. And my friend Emily was telling me about it, and we thought, let's go check it out. So we flew down there, and we just kind of walked around, and it was really, really inspiring. Who I met and what I saw, the lectures and the workshops, it was awesome because everybody was of the same mindset. Kind of like, you know, like Comic-Con and everything, where this is all illustrators, animators, you know, these legends that I've read about in books. They were all there just chatting with people. They had lectures. They had an artist area where you can just go up to talk to people that you followed, you know, on blogs or social media or something like that. And you can just go up there and talk to them. It's a bit intimidating, for sure. But, you know, after you walk around their table a few times, you're like, okay, I should say something. I just kind of went up to them, just talked to some of them. Now some of them are my really, really good friends. And I think that's what I love about this community, is that everybody is so giving and sharing, and yeah, it's just really good people. So they also had a lot of studios there as well, and I wasn't looking for a job specifically. I just wanted to see what this was all about. But Disney was there, and I thought, well, you know, I'm never gonna have another opportunity to you know, speak to somebody from Disney at the studio. So I thought, okay, I'm just gonna go up and ask for some feedback on my work. So luckily, one of the guys I was talking with used to work at Sony. So when I was working at Sony in Vancouver, he was working at Sony in LA. And I guess he recognized some of my work. And he was already over at Disney. And he said, well, you know, you should just apply, even if you're not looking for work. He gave me some feedback and said, just send it in, because they'll keep it on file for future. So I did that, went home, fixed a few things, then I just sent it online. And then within a month, they happened to be hiring for Wreck-It Ralph. So I just kind of, so they called me for interview, phone interview and everything. And then within a month or two, they got my visa, and then started at Disney back in 2012. So that was kind of I know a long story, but yeah, that's kind of like my path into where I am today. And also, yeah, you know, been Disney for about 5 years, and it's pretty incredible the amount of artistry that's in that studio and the history. But you know, I think you can get that anywhere. I think you don't need to necessarily be at a big studio to get that. I think you can get that at any studio. I think you can always learn something no matter where you are. But at the moment, I'm very fortunate to be where I am right now.
Awesome. I really connect with this idea that when you start like drawing, I had this issue when I was in school a lot, that I was drawing and getting a lot of problems because obviously the teachers were not that inclined of me drawing in class, and this idea that if we went into art, like we would be the starving artists. And I did have to stop it for a while because it was, I think, the moment where internet was starting to go up, but it still wasn't like the great thing yet. However, it seems crazy to me that today they present like this type of jobs like illustration, animation, the things that I grew up where everybody was saying like you will starve if you do this, and now these are like the more sustainable jobs, the most stable opportunities, like, and also really high paying ones. And it's crazy for me to see this transform into something where we are doing animation and illustration, and we are earning more money than all the other safe careers that people were talking about.
Yeah, it's I think, you know, like you said, with the internet and the computers, like almost every movie has some sort of effects to it. You know, most of them are invisible. Like I just saw some movies where I'm like, wait, I thought that was all practical, you know? So it's pretty insane that almost every film has to go through some sort of digital process in something. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool to see that flip, and you know, seeing the world kind of appreciate what artists can bring to the table. So it's pretty cool.
Indeed. Also, something that you mentioned is that in your experience in London, I went to London for a little while. I went there for a conference about entrepreneurship. And even though I had always, like, in my mind, London was something great, like a great city and all that, it also never really caught my attention. Like there was never a desire for me to go back there. But when I went there, it was like it blew my mind completely. Like it was so much better than everything that I had in my mind. And what you say was like really important, like to see, to be able to be in the museums, and that most museums are free, pretty much. Like you just go and watch the art. Like that was definitely an eye-opening experience. Uh, did you feel something like that when you were there?
Yes, yeah. It was like, so I was working at the studio called MPC, Moving Picture Company, and that was in Soho. So it was right in the city. And you know, I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna go down towards Trafalgar Square, which is probably like 5-minute walk. I'm just gonna eat on the grass on the steps and just stare out at, you know, at this amazing history, you know. And then just behind me is like the Natural Portrait Gallery. And you know, you can just go there for even for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you know, just to kind of, I feel like there's always something to do there or to see or absorb. Like even just no matter where you walk, there's just something very interesting. And I think that's just very inspiring. In the fact that, you know, you're just kind of walking around and everything around you is inspiring. At least for me, it is. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about how moving from a different city from where you're used to, and even just taking the transportation, you know, something as mundane as that is actually, for me, is fascinating, because you see the city completely different than if you were in a car, right? And you wouldn't have necessarily seen this area, or just even how, you know, buying a ticket. No, this might sound stupid, but like, you know, just the process of getting from one place to another in a different city than what you're used to from home is just very eye-opening on the culture and the city and how people function. And I feel like all that kind of stuff really does, for me, influences my work on how I think about things. But yeah, no, that's just a tangent that I went off on.
No, I really understand that, because I'm from El Salvador, and public transportation here is kind of like an extreme sport because like the bus drivers are like really crazy here. Like there are not many regulations on that. There is definitely no order. So one thing that blew my mind was when we in the public transportation system, that it had all the time, like, oh, this bus or this train will arrive in this exact time, and we don't have and pretty much like the bus comes and it's like completely full and you have to jump because it doesn't really put its stuff. And it seems like it's something that it is not that important into art, but I just say, like, just having the experience to live, like to have these different perspectives out of lives, allows you to get
Yes.
better ideas on the art. And the best artists that I've been interviewing so far, like, they all put this so much emphasis into the idea of actually living, traveling, meeting new cultures, because there is also like a huge group of people in the art community who just like close in they locked up in a room and they try to learn art from other artists, but it's not the same.
Yeah, no, completely. I completely agree with that about traveling. But you know, I do understand it's not everyone has the opportunity to travel. But I feel like you still can be inspired by, you know, just like you said, not staying in your room and just kind of working all day. You know, even just going out for a walk, meeting up with friends, just go somewhere in a neighborhood that you've never been before. You know, just anything to just, like you said, to live life and be inspired by what's around you. Because I think if we just stick at our desks, which I did a lot before, and just drew, a lot of the ideas just becomes the same, you know, and you just never know when the next idea is going to come from.
Definitely. Also, on the CTNX, we went to the CTNX last year. That's where we found your work, and to be honest, since it was our first time, and even I heard that from many people that this time was like really full of people, that it was like the biggest event ever. For us, it was like really overwhelming. Like, I'm pretty sure that there were many times where I was like next to somebody really important, and I didn't have any idea. And so I wanted to ask you, like, what will be your advices or tips into going into an event like this and making the best out of it?
Yeah, no, I think what is, I feel the same way. Even now, like my first year to CTN, I was so overwhelmed. I had a headache because there's just an explosion of information coming at you and just the inspiration around you. But I would just say, you know, don't be afraid to, you know, if you really want to talk to somebody, just say hi and introduce yourself, because I think everybody's there is just so friendly, and you know, we're all the same people. We're all, you know, somewhat introvert. Some of us are extroverts, but I think we all understand that we've all been there before. If you're nervous, you know I still get nervous when I see like Pierre de Sèvres sitting over there. Like, I haven't even said hi to him, but I know he's there at the bar. You know, you see him with all these people. But and I've heard, you know, he's super approachable. But yeah, also like make sure you take a break, because you know it is very overwhelming, and yeah, just kind of like, you know, take it easy, take a break from everything, and come back, and yeah, I think hopefully that helps.
Yeah, definitely, because for us, it was also our first time in Los Angeles. So before that, we were like going. We went to Universal Studios, and we went to try to buy a lot of things. And by the time we came to CTNX, we were already like a little bit tired. And as you said, like we had to, like in the beginning, we had this idea, and we had even like built this schedule. Like, we are going to go to all these talks, and we had like full schedule for the day, and we were unable to go like maybe to 20% of that because it was so overwhelming.
Yeah, and then you never know who you're gonna run into. Like, you know, you'd be like, oh, I'm on my way to here, and then in between you run into people that you either haven't seen in a long time, like it's kind of like a reunion of people, or you run to someone that you would like to meet, you know, and you just end up chatting, and then you kind of miss the classes, which is unfortunate. But you know, that's one thing great about it, is that you never know who you're gonna see there.
Yeah, I even found some people that I interviewed here before. Like, we just met online, but there I found it like in person, and there were some of them who were like, "Oh, so nice to see you! Like, are you going to be here? Yeah, yeah. Let's talk in a little while." And then I never see them again because there were so many people. But
Yeah, I would say most people congregate at the Daily Grill usually every night, because that's kind of like the easiest, closest place to be. Did you get to go there?
yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of people, so sometimes hard to find people.
Also, since you had like this amazing career where you had like a lot of experience in many areas, what was the thing that maybe you didn't expect it at all that you will face into the, or things can be many, that you didn't even think about that you will have to face in order to become like an professional illustrator and animator?
Things that I didn't expect.
Yes.
Let's see. I guess it's kind of, I guess when I first started the industry, I had an idea, but I didn't realize about the whole, jumping from studio to studio as often as I thought I would be. Because, some contracts were literally like a month long, and then I had to look for a new job. And I had an idea about it, but, when you're actually in there doing it, like you start maybe like a few weeks into the job, and you're like, oh, this is great. But at the same time, you're like, I got to prepare for the next job to look for, So that was something that I had to get used to, because I literally jumped around to almost every studio at home back in Vancouver to consistently be working. And I was very fortunate that I had been able to be consistent. But that's just the mindset of the industry. I think at the moment right now, with Disney, I've been there for 5 years, and that's the longest job I've had, like at one go, because I could always come back, to the same studio later, but luckily the studio has been having some consistent work that I've had this longer run. But that, that's not to say that's normal, because most studios, they're contract based, so and that could be a great thing. I think they both have their advantages. Of course, stability is good, but also, when you jump from studio to studio, you do learn a lot about how studios are run. You meet a lot of amazing artists that you would never run into if you stayed at one studio. So you kind of open your community even bigger. And once you make these great friends, and you go to another studio, and somebody and your friends over there is like, oh, we need people, maybe come over after you've done this. And so a lot of studios do kind of communicate in that, okay, these artists are finishing up, do you have any work? And then people just move back and forth. And that could be really fun too, because it changes the environment. It makes you think fresh, differently. You can be working from a game project to a visual effects creature project to a TV show, animated show, so I think it gives you a more variety of skills that when something is thrown at you, you can probably just take that and just go with it. So that's, I would say that's probably one of the things that I had to adjust to when I first started in the industry.
Nice. Also, something that I wanted to ask you is like, what is the thing for people who want to become like animators or illustrators? What do you think they should be focusing on that they are not focusing on? The most common things that you see.
I think life drawing is a very big thing. I'm guilty of it. I should do more as well, because I think in general we are moving into the more CG realm, like computers. That is important to be drawing from life more. It doesn't have to be at a studio where you're drawing, a model or somebody. It could be just be drawing from life. If you love to do backgrounds, just drawing trees or anything around you, really, is to kind of get the hand going and just do that repetitive motion of just doodling. I think doodling is a very important thing, like sketching. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. I was at this conference where she was telling me, she's telling us that, everyone, they say have a sketchbook, but, the sketchbook is for you. If you don't want to show it to anybody, then don't show it. So if someone's like, oh, I want to see your sketches. And, the sketches are for you just to kind of process and to kind of create something. And they're never perfect. You're going to be doing thousands of sketches until maybe you like one of them. And that's completely normal, right? So, and I never thought about it. I thought someone said, I want to see a sketchbook. You're like, okay, here you go. And then, you're not very proud of it. But she said, well, you don't have to show it because this is for you. And whenever you're ready to show something, then you can show it. But the sketches is something that you should just be free to make bad drawings. Because, you know, every time I open a sketchbook and it's a blank page, I feel like I need to make the perfect drawing, or at least the best that I can. But that's not possible to always do a perfect drawing all the time. So I think it's very important to just always be sketching from life is what I would stress. You know, for illustrators, definitely just drawing. And then even if you're an animator, I think sketching from life would change the way you view things in the three-dimensional world. You know, you think about shapes more, and you're not worried about like more the technical aspect of 3D animation, where you're thinking about the rig and the controls and the curves on the graph editor and such like that. Because that becomes very technical very quick. But if you can visually see something in shapes and forms and movement, I think that could definitely translate into your work in animation.
Definitely, I really think so too. Also, you mentioned to me before that you are about to publish, or that you just published a new book. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's called Holly's Day at the Pool. Actually, I have it here. I can show you too. There you go. And it's called Holly's Day at the Pool, and it's a book about a little hippo, and she has a fear of water and how she kind of overcomes it. So the idea came about with my niece. She was about 2 years old when I was writing this book, and she was transitioning from taking baths to showers, and she completely hated the shower. And I was asking my sister, because they're up in Canada, I was like what, you know, why is she upset and why is she crying? And she goes, you know, water would get in her eyes, or it'll get in her nose, and it's cold, and all these kind of things. And I thought that was really interesting because, you know, as kids, you know, the shower could feel like a waterfall, you know, because for us it's not a big deal, but for them, you know, it could feel so heavy and everything. So I thought it was kind of interesting to explore what their imagination would be like in their mind compared to ours. So that was the initial idea or concept for the book. And at Disney Animation, they have a children's book program in the studio could apply. And so I applied 1 year, submitted my idea, and then you would have to create 3 illustrations of what the book would look like. And I submitted back in 2012, and it went through the process of, they have a panel of, let's say, judges or directors at the studio, and then they kind of wheeled it down into like a finalist kind of thing. And then when they've kind of finalized on a few, then they bring in Hyperion, which is a publishing company, and John Lasseter. They would both pick which books to move forward with. And luckily mine was picked in 2014. And so, which is awesome because I never thought I would, like, I love children's books and I've always wanted to make one, but I never thought, you know, I would actually do one. So that was kind of cool. So then I started working with Hyperion directly for about 2 years. And then it just came out this April. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. And now I'm kind of delving into the whole world of publishing because I had so much fun working on it, and creating my own characters, creating my own world. And then when it was released, seeing, hearing stories really from people that I've never met that bought the book, and how their kids, you know, attach to certain characters, or that, you know, they repeat certain lines from the book when they're going to the pool. I think that stuff makes me really just kind of crazy how, like, books can influence people, even adults and kids, and that seeing this, since someone appreciates it, I think it's pretty cool to see that. And so now I'm kind of moving to, also as a second career, into children's books. So that's kind of like a new thing for me that I'm kind of learning as well. So
yeah, I think books are really interesting. I've had maybe you could call it a bad experience with books when I was a kid, because my mother was trying to put books onto me, but she was giving me like things like Agatha Christie, which by the age of 7 or 8, like is not the kind of things that I connect with. But later in life, thanks to the internet, I started finding the kind of things that I really was interested. And funny that you mentioned that your favorite book from Harry Potter, for example, was the fourth one. It was the same for me, because at the time, when there was only four books, I was sick, like I became ill. There was like rheumatic fever, which makes you all the joints in your body hurt like hell. So I couldn't even draw. I couldn't even be in the computer because I couldn't even close my hand. And the medicines were like really expensive. So pretty much, we couldn't even pay TV cable. so
Oh, no.
in order to pay that, and I spent in bed for like 6 months. And I remember for at the beginning, the medicines were like really hard. So I was like, just took them and went to sleep. But eventually I became accustomed to them, and I was awake, like just watching my ceiling and doing nothing else for the rest of the day. And then my mother came with the four books of Harry Potter to me, and I pretty much read each one in a day. That's how much bored I was, and that was the only thing that I could do all day. So pretty much, and at the time I couldn't even read that as fast as I can read today. But I pretty much like spent all day reading them, and that is something that, as experience, I attach kind of to Harry Potter, because that was like my salvation from boredom at the time. However, I do think that the industry from books as well is changing. I see many authors who now create their own blogs and create like some famous over social media. They become famous on social media and then use this fame to try to announce the book, get some following, then get the publishers to see like, hey, I got like 200,000 people ready to buy this book. Like, let me help. Let's publish this. What would be your advice for the people who want to publish books?
I would say this is what I also heard at a conference that was very kind of like they said a lot is kind of never give up, like be persistent, because publishing it's also like any other industry very difficult, because there's only so many books that are published every year, and everyone's trying to write stories. So I would just say keep writing. If you're an author, I would just say keep writing ideas, keep coming up with ideas. If you think of something, randomly you're walking around or doing something, just jot it down, put it on your phone, even if it's just like one line of an idea, and maybe that could develop into a story later. So I would just say kind of keep ideas in your mind and write it down, and then maybe develop something into it. And then if you're an illustrator, also both illustrating and writing, read a lot of books in your genre. So if you are into like YA novels, which is like young adults, like Harry Potter and stuff like that, go for it. Just, like, read a lot of it, because the more you read, the more you're going to understand the type of language that they're using and the way they're writing. And for me, it's like I'm trying to read more picture books, because that's kind of what I would love to write more of. So, and also like for illustrating, seeing how pages are laid out, like how is this illustrator laying out this book compared to this illustrator, and why, and try to analyze it. But it's also just fun, when you find a book that you really love, or an illustrator that has amazing artwork. That's just inspiring too. Yeah.
Also, in this area, I've seen like many artists starting to publish their books about their art. I think your book is kind of in the middle of the history and also the art, like in the print. what would be your advice for artists who want to publish art books? Because I think that's, or maybe I may be wrong, but I really don't have much experience about publishing books. But what would be your advice for people who want to publish their own art books?
I would say, I guess, figure out the format you want to do. Like, what type of art book do you want to do? Do you want to do a art book that is a specific theme? Or do you want to just do a book about sketches, like whether that's sketches from life that you've done, or sketches, just your doodle sketches of characters? Yeah, it just kind of depends on what you want to say about your book. You say, okay, I'm a character designer, so I'm gonna do a book of just characters that I've done, right? Then maybe I wouldn't include, like backgrounds, because that's not your specialty. You know, unless you're a background artist, then everything you would probably in the script would be more backgrounds. And then, of course, you want to decide on the format of it, right? If you want to do paperback or do a hardcover, you know, they all come with different costs as well. And then, yeah, and then see, you know, where your market is. You know, who do you want to gear this towards? You know, if you're, say, going to a conference like CTN, then you probably want to do something that looks more towards the animation industry, right? But if you want to do something that's more like fine art, then you might want to like make that and then maybe try to sell it to a gallery that is more in that style. So you kind of also want to know your market as well when you're making your sketchbook or making your art book.
Nice. Also, since you already have like all the experience into many different areas, there is this topic that comes up a lot, where like there is the art side of the thing, like you have to become like a really good artist and all that, which takes a lot of time and effort, as you know. But also to balance that with the business kind of knowledge and skills in order to be able to get the jobs, in order to be able to get freelancers or like build a business, whatever. How did you went about acquiring this business skills in order to navigate all these industries?
For the business side, I think I just kind of read a lot online about you know, how to do, like, for example, with the Holiday at the Pool book, I would say, okay, so the publishing house is going to market as well, and I thought, okay, what can I do as an artist to help promote the book? So I was just reading online about, you know, how to create a successful book event, for example. Like, let's say, maybe create something on top of the book. So, you know, if I go to a book event, I'd make stickers of the characters, you know, that I can give away. That's kind of something nice for people on top of, you know, coming to the book event, or how to promote it via social media. So I was reading about on that. Like you said, mentioned about, you know, creating a following and then, you know, announce the book, and hopefully, you know, it's more about exposure, really, you know, because not everyone's going to buy it, but it's really about exposure and just putting yourself out there. I've always been very afraid of putting my art up. It wasn't until probably 5 years, probably I think once I started working at Disney and I started to create my own art, that my friends were like, you should just put your stuff out there. Like, I didn't even have an Instagram account. You know, I didn't have Twitter. I didn't even have a website. Well, I had a website, but it was down for forever because I didn't update it. But really, I wasn't online. And a lot of it was I was scared. I was just like, I don't know how to do this thing. You know, as artists, sometimes we feel that our stuff is not good enough. No one's gonna like it. But then I just said, okay, I'm just gonna just do it. You know, not everyone's gonna like it, and that's fine. And then from there, I just started to post more, and then I started to research, okay, well, how do you post? Like, you know, how do you have a successful Instagram account? And you know, some of the stuff I tried, some of it didn't work, some of it worked. And then I learned about Twitter, and I learned that Twitter is used a lot for the publishing industry. So then, actually, just earlier this year, I started a Twitter account because, you know, at the book conference, they're like, "Oh, you should tag this person on Twitter," and I didn't even know how to use Twitter, you know. And you think, "Oh, I should know," but no, I just never knew how to use it because I didn't really know how to use it because I'm not really I don't talk about, oh, what I'm eating today, and I don't post about that type of things. So I didn't know how to use it. So I ended up kind of using it like how I use Instagram, where I would post, you know, my art on Instagram. I write a little bit about it, and then so I did the same thing for Twitter. And then from there, I met some people in publishing, and I started chatting with them because I think it's easier to chat on Twitter than it is on Instagram. But Instagram has a bigger following for illustrators. So I think it's good to have both as an artist. So that for me, that's kind of like the business side that I know that I could learn just kind of on my own. Whether or not I'm doing it correctly, I'm not sure. But it's really about kind of making connections with people. You know, I've met a lot of people on Twitter and on Instagram that I've admired their art for a long time. And then I would just send a message just to say hi, you know? And yeah, it's really just about making connections and talking to people. And then the art is just there, you know?
Definitely. Also, you just mentioned something that is, I think, a very standard topic inside the creative industry, which is doubting yourself. Like, as you said, like many times, I know amazing artists, like really amazing artists, who even have problems with themselves about the idea of creating, let's say, a fan page, an Instagram account, or putting their art because they think their art sucks. It doesn't. Like, it's really great, but they think that way. And how do you go about going beyond that fear?
Um, I think it's kind of like the more you post or the more you put out there, I think it's just kind of like a habit where you're like, okay, it's just practice. You just do it, and after a while, you're like, okay, you know, even if people like it or some people don't like it, that's fine. But I think it kind of makes you just create art, and I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you become with it. You're more confident in posting sketches, you know, or work in progresses, and people like to see that because, you know, even sometimes I post bad stuff, not on purpose, but like this is just what I was thinking at this moment, and it, you know, it may not turn out this way, but I think it shows that not everything that you do is going to be perfect, and I think that's really important. Because, you know, as artists, we want to put our best stuff forward, but at the same time, you know, it's not possible to do something perfectly every time, or at least to the best. You know, you try it, it doesn't work, and you just try again. And I think the more you do it, it's something that you will overcome that fear of posting.
Yes. Also, there was a question that I wanted to ask you, but just slipped my mind. Oh well, I try to remember it later on. Well, on another question, what are the things that has worked for you into using social media? You mentioned that Twitter was a little bit hard for you. It is hard for me as well, because even though I understand how it technically works, like I know how to post, I know how to tag somebody, I know how to use the hashtags and all this, I still don't quite get that dynamic insider. Like you say, like, I'm not the type of person who likes to, oh yeah, I'm eating a cookie, something like that. I really still don't get how, like, the dynamic of that works. So can you give me what do you do in order to understand how that works?
Yeah. So for example, like you can start a conversation on Twitter. So let's say, for example, you posted an artwork, or someone posted art that you really like and you like it, and then you can ask about, oh, I love this. What was the inspiration behind this art? And then you would eventually, whoever's on that tag would start a conversation with you, and then you would just be like, it's kind of like a chat system where you're just chatting with each other, I guess live, right? And then whoever's in that tag, and you'd be like, oh, this person would really love to hear this, and then the next reply you would tag that person or your friend or whoever, and they're become as part of that conversation, and then you just kind of build this this relationship about this just from this one drawing, or it could be from a topic that you guys saw, or someone just started a conversation and you saw it, and you're like, oh, you wanted to comment on it, you want to ask a question. That's usually how I tend to do it, because I found so many amazing writers and illustrators on Twitter that I would just, when they post something, I'll just ask them like, hey, this is awesome, even just comment, just like, this is awesome, or I'd be like, oh, I love the colors, how did you go about doing that, or your process? And it's really just kind of starting a conversation and making a relationship with people.
I see. Yeah, definitely. I was kind of a really huge introvert long time ago. Then, obviously, because of the need of getting a job and getting work, I had to learn kind of the social interaction. And I'm kind of an ambivert person now because I act as an extrovert many of the times, but I also need like my space and being alone and all that. So I do have like a small amount of energy that I can use, and I think Twitter depletes that energy like really fast for me. Uh, did you have any of these problems where you like an introvert, or were you always an extrovert in that area?
Oh, no, I'm not an extrovert. No, I'm definitely an introvert. I think I've always been a very shy person, and I've kind of, I think building a confidence, you can have a confidence and still be introvert completely. But for me, it's like I went to CTN for 2 years where I was just attending and seeing friends, and then my friend asked me, well, why don't you just kind of like my friend Bobby and Katya just say, why don't you just join us for tabling next year? And I'm just afraid to talk to people. I can talk to people that I know. But then I did it. I said, okay, I'm just gonna. I've never sold my art as well, so there's all that. So I was like doing that 1 year, and I wasn't really prepared, but it was just fun. It was just really hanging out with friends, and then meeting new people that come up to the table, and they know my friends that are tabling with me, and I got to know them as well. And I think what made me comfortable was the people I'm talking to is us. We're the same people. We have the same interest. We're all doing the same thing, trying to be creative. And I think that kind of build more confident of me being able to just start a conversation. But in general, I'm more of an introvert than I am an extrovert. I'm learning to have to be more like I don't know, I guess to be extrovert, to have both sides, like you said, same thing with you, where you need time to yourself and to kind of like, regenerate, as you want to say, but also, go out there and just kind of put yourself out there and see what happens.
Yes, definitely. I have another two partners with this company. One of them, she is like incredibly shy. And it's weird because if you get to know her, like she's very open and funny and all that,
Yeah.
but you put like a microphone in front of her and her voice goes down like really, really soft and barely able to hear. There was a video that we were filming one day, and we were like really in the night. There was no sound at all. And we were trying to get her voice, and it was barely hearing the microphone. It's like, it's just us, like, just speak up. And then CTNX, that shyness like came really big for her, because again, like English is not her first language, but she can speak it, she can understand it, but also she just felt like a lot of shyness over there, to the point that she just went into the area where everybody was drawing, and shut down there drawing, making drawings herself, and thinking that that way she would be on scene or something like that. And because she was drawing, like everybody was coming up to her, and she was like trying to get me to help her to translate things, because she was blocking herself out, and I was just like, bye bye. So to try to push her out a little bit, but
Yeah.
it didn't work that well.
Well, hopefully next year, if you're, or this year, if you guys are coming this year,
Yes.
yeah, that'd be great. Definitely swing by and try to find each other. And yeah, no, I think that's fine. Like to be, it's fine to be an introvert, and you know, maybe next year or this year, hopefully, should be more comfortable, and just to chat, just to say hi. You know, you don't have to have a long conversation. It's just to kind of say hi and say, oh, what are you working on, or what do you do, or what do you like to do, and you know, it doesn't have to be about art. You know, just get to know the person.
Yeah, for me, it's more like how to put it, like the logistic and technical knowledge of how it works, because that's pretty much how I started like learning how to specialize, right? Like to learn certain rules and how to interact. So last year was learning a lot about how CTNX works, like how the dynamic work, and pretty much by the third day we were able to get a hang of it. But obviously by the third day, like most of the events is gone. Yeah, but at least it's like, oh, okay, now I understand how all this works. Like next year I'm going to do much better with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, for all the people who are there listening, there is a lot of people watching this show who, the same as us, comes from countries. For example, here we don't have like art schools. The closest things to art is like graphic design, which you know is not the same at all. And however, there are a lot of people who want to become illustrators, become animators. However, they lack this knowledge through, let's say, traditional methods like school, college, and things like that. Obviously, internet has fixed a lot of that, at least from my point of view. What would be your advice to those people on how to go into art and how to learn the things that they need to learn in order to become an illustrator or an animator?
I would say, yeah, it's if you don't have the opportunity where you are, you can always take classes online. There's a lot of like Illustrator courses that you can take or look for at online schools. And for animation, you know, there's a lot of online schools like Anim Squad or Anim School, iAnimate, you know, Animation Mentor. That stuff is great because, you know, you can work from home, and you can build a community online through that. I've had quite a few friends that came from Animation Mentor or iAnimate, and you know, they have meetups, whatever they, you know, maybe someone in your own country or city, or if you're traveling somewhere, you kind of just build this bond, this relationship where you both are going. It's like you're going to school, but you're not sitting next to each other. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of online schools that you can look into for illustration or for animation. Yeah, and then just kind of you know, get to know them and build a relationship via online, whether that's Facebook or other means. And I think that kind of opens the world for you, and then from there you can move wherever you want to go.
Nice. Also, if people want to find you online, where will be the best place to find you?
So I have a website. It's called bensonshum.com. And then I also have my Instagram. It's bshum79, and that's the same thing for my Twitter. I have a Tumblr account. It's benson.shum Tumblr, I think. And then I'm also on Facebook. So I have a Benson Shum Art Facebook page that I also created. But yeah, you can find me through there.
Great. Is there any last piece of advice that you would like to give that we haven't talked about in this interview?
I guess we mentioned it, but it's just really just kind of whether you're doing animation or illustration, just I think live life as, you know, just kind of don't be stuck in the room drawing all the time, which is important. Go out if you want to draw. Maybe find some people, go to a coffee shop and just draw, or just go to a coffee shop and just chat. You know, sometimes whenever my friends say, "Oh, let's go sketching," let's go meet at the coffee shop, but we just end up chatting the whole time, and that's great too, right? Because you never know where your next idea is going to come from. Yeah, just do drawing, do life drawing and just drawing from life. I think that's really important.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for giving us your time and for being here. It is truly appreciated. Definitely, I have gotten a lot of things that I will use in the future, and I'm sure our audience will too. And so thanks a lot for being here.
I know. Thank you so much, Rodrigo, for having me. It's a pleasure, definitely.
So this has been the last episode from the Creative Hustler Show. If you like this interview, please click the like button below, and please share this interview with your friends so everybody can learn about this experience. Until next time.